Hey everybody, welcome back to Home Studio Pro. I'm glad you're here. And later on, I can't wait to share my custom settings for this microphone, the Shure SM7B, in tandem with the Rodecaster Pro 2. I just picked up this device, the RCP2. It is phenomenal. It is so versatile. It does everything. Interface, recorder, mixer. It's portable. It's got the effects. It's got the smart pads. What doesn't it do? And I know a lot of you out there are using this microphone in tandem with the Rodecaster, so I thought, hey, let me share the custom settings that I think work best for me and my voice and this microphone and this recording space. But on that note, I've got to tell you straight away, and you are hearing this microphone, by the way, processed right now. You'll hear it dry in a second. It's important to know that these settings, they only are specific to my voice and this environment of this treated room. And if you don't have the same treated room, you may not get the same results. Even though you've got the mic and even though you've got the settings, don't get frustrated. The room really matters as much as any of the hardware and the gear that you're using. Okay, with that established, let's jump right into the settings here. Obviously, I've got the SM7B preset or default, whatever you want to call it, which puts you at 55 dB of gain. And right now, again, these are my custom settings, which I'll share all the details on this in just a second. But first, let me actually begin with some of the basic settings that Rode has come up with for this microphone. And actually, before we get to that, here's what it sounds like completely dry and unprocessed. This is the SM7B. The Shure SM7B dynamic microphone has a smooth, flat, wide-range frequency response appropriate for music and speech in all professional audio applications. Okay, I turn the processing on there. And again, this is just the neutral setting. You can see the three different elements here: depth, sparkle, and punch. Now, these are basic, right? So we're not getting into frequencies and low cuts and compression and hysteresis and all that stuff. Depth, sparkle, and punch, quite simple to understand. Depth on the low end, sparkle the top end of the frequencies, and punch, to me, is a combination of compression and gating and expansion. So all of these are turned up, I don't know, about a quarter of the way, maybe sparkle a third of the way here. This is where Rode has decided to put them. And here's what this setting sounds like. The Shure SM7B dynamic microphone has a smooth, flat, wide-range frequency response appropriate for music and speech in all professional audio applications. Okay, that's the neutral setting. Here's what podcast studio setting sounds like. So a little bit more enhanced on everything. The depth, the sparkle, the punch, they're all simply turned up. Here's what it sounds like with absolutely no processing. And then here's what it sounds like when I turn the processing back on. The Shure SM7B dynamic microphone has a smooth, flat, wide-range frequency response appropriate for music and speech in all professional audio applications. Okay, so that's what the podcast studio sounds like. Now we get into the broadcast setting here, which has everything almost maxed out between depth and sparkle and punch. And you're hearing it now. You're hearing it completely dry and unprocessed. I've taken it all away. Let me go ahead and put the processing back in. Okay, the Shure SM7B dynamic microphone has a smooth, flat, wide-range frequency response appropriate for music and speech in all professional audio applications. Yeah, this sounds rather broadcasty, doesn't it? It's very full, it's thick, it's using a lot of the effects. Couple things to take note of here, by the way, with this microphone. All of the switches are neutral or off, so there is no low-cut filter, which is an option on the back here. And the presence boost is also turned off. It's also important to take note that I'm using the thin wind foam. And by the way, I've always said this about this mic. When you take off the wind foam, and it's not windy in my home studio, why would I need this? Some people do it for looks. Some people do it to protect the capsule from spit and particles, shall we say. I think it sounds best, quite honestly, with no wind foam on it. But I know some of you are using this foam. I know some of you are using the other bigger one that comes with it. So I'll put that back on for now. That's important to know that I'm using the thin wind foam on how this sounds. The other thing is my mic technique. You know what? Let me just go ahead and put it in my custom settings so you can hear more of that. Mic technique really does matter here too, because if I'm off axis or if I'm too far away or if I'm like right on the mic the entire time, it's going to sound different in terms of just the sound, right? Just the actual definition of the sound is going to be different no matter, or depending on how I'm talking into the microphone. My mic technique for a dynamic is usually half of this hang loose distance away. For a condenser, it's the full hang loose distance, like my mouth is here and the capsule is here, or the front of the mic is here. But for this, it's about a half a hang loose distance away. So here's my custom settings. We're here. I'll share them with you in just a second. Here's what it sounds like with absolutely no processing. So again, this is zero processing, completely, dry and flat. And then all of a sudden we get the full processing here. The Shure SM7B dynamic microphone has a smooth, flat, wide-range frequency response appropriate for music and speech in all professional audio applications. Okay, so how do I achieve this sound? Let's dive into the settings here. The high-pass filter is on at about 60 hertz on a 6 dB per octave slope. It's a very shallow slope. It's not steep at all. De-essing, I'm at 30 dB, negative 30 dB on a 3.7:1 ratio. Sibilance, say something silly, smarty, stupid. Oh, shucks. Oh, it kind of did it there. So you can see the reaction there of how much it's reducing when I get those S's in there. By the way, my frequency, it's usually between 6,000 and 6,500 hertz. That's typically where my sibilance lies the most. So I'm at 6285. But you can see the settings here. No gain. The attack and the release are quite quick to go in tandem with that 3.7:1 ratio. Then here on the noise gate, threshold at negative 43.2. The attack, the release, and the hold are all very quick. I've got the range turned up to 6. Now, let me be quiet for just a second so you can hear what this range, basically range is the intensity of the expansion and the gating. Here's what it sounds like. Now, again, this is a quiet room. There's no fans in this room. There's nothing really that's making noise, but it gets this microphone to be pretty quiet. Now, watch me go ahead and take this all the way off. So you might hear a little bit of mic noise, a little bit of hiss maybe, with this preamp. The preamps in this are very, very good. The Revolution preamps. I think we were at 6 dB there. But again, you might hear a little bit of something from this mic, or depending on your room situation, how much room noise there is. Hysteresis turned up to 0.39, and that is the noise gate. Watch this. I'll turn it on and off. So it definitely cuts down on some noise there. Compressor settings. Threshold is at negative 17.4 dB. The ratio is 3.4:1. Attack and release very quick, and I am using 3.5 dB of makeup gain. And you can kind of see where that ball is. It's getting compressed, but I'm not absolutely slamming against the wall. If you're doing that, might want to reconsider your settings. But again, all of this differs. How I talk, how loud I talk, how I project, and how you speak. Equalizer settings. Let's talk about the tonality here of this sound. The high bell at 9100 hertz, I'm boosting at 1.2. So again, this is kind of a darker mic. I'm just boosting it way at the top. You can see that reflected there. Watch, let me turn the EQ off. So here's the EQ entirely off. Here's how it sounds. And then I'll turn the EQ on. So it does add a little bit of a boost there. The mid bell, I do this cut a lot, somewhere between 275 and 300 hertz. I'm cutting here at 2.4. So I'm really trying to get rid of some of this boxiness. Hear that boxiness? If I turn that up right there, you can definitely identify that. So negative 2.4 is always, anything less than 3 is more of an appropriate cut, but that range, that frequency range right there is a typical cut I do for my voice and a lot of my microphones. Low bell, it's a 1.4 dB boost, and again, that's at 90.7 hertz. Okay. Let's move on to the exciter. I do have the big bottom and the oral exciter both working. Big bottom's at 73 hertz, and the drive is at 43%. And the oral exciter is in those speech fundamental frequency region at 1200 hertz, and the harmonics are turned up to 74%. This mic does feel like it does maybe lack in that area, that 1,000 to 5,000 range. So I am trying to kind of push it and force it a little bit right there. Panning, no left or right, obviously, for that. And then we get back to the high-pass filter. So there we go. And by the way, can I just advise all of you to go ahead and make these custom settings for all of the different microphones you use with your Rodecaster Pro 2. And the way you do it is you go into the advanced settings, and after you've tweaked it how you like it, just hit that advanced button to get out of it, and the Rodecaster Pro will say, wait a second, do you want to save these because you can go revisit them? Yes, you do want to save them. You also probably want to put in there the gain amount, because the gain amount does not apply to your preset. You still have to dial that in all by yourself. So I always put the gain amount with the microphone I'm using, and that brings me back to the same place every single time. Since you've stuck around this long, which, by the way, I really appreciate it, thank you for that, would you give this video a thumbs up if you liked it or if it provided you value? Also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so that I can see you next time right here on Home Studio Pro.